This is the March 19th regular board meeting of the Board of Education for Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District. This meeting is now called to order and will be, read the wrong sentence. Sorry about that. Good evening, everyone. I'll start all over. The Board of Education is now, the Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District is now reconvening to open session. It is now 7:02. And this is the March 19th regular meeting of the Board of Education. As acting president, the meeting is now called to order. I have assigned Trustee White as the acting board clerk. Please be advised our board meeting are televised on Channel 28 on Wednesday evenings and Saturday mornings. If you're seated near the center aisle of the boardroom, you may be viewed on camera. I've learned this on the airlines. So if you're here, you'll be on the camera. We'll start with the flag salute, and I ask that Ms. Carla Estrada Hidalgo and Miss Sarah Walke, I screwed up the name, I'm sorry, Principal and Vice Principal of Vineyard Alternative Education and the Adult Education, please come forward to introduce and welcome the students who will lead us in the pledge this evening. And please come around the podium at this time after the pledge, and please come around and shake the hands of the board members. Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening. My name is Carla Estrada Hidalgo, and I'm proud principal of Vineyard Alternative School and also Livermore Adult Education. It gives me a great pleasure this evening to introduce to you our adult students who participated in our citizenship class. So these are our adult ed students who have been able to participate in our classes, both ESL and citizenship.
So many handshakes. Thank you. Good job. Thank you. Good job. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Congratulations. Those are cute. Oh yeah, these are from last week, I think. Oh, Rambo. We got one? Oh yeah, you got the green and gold, and I got the black and gold. That's so cute. Thank you for bringing your mom. Good job. Good job. Good job. I love your dress. Thank you. Hi, thanks for coming. Thank you so much. Hi, thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Hi. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, I see. Oh, you want to shake? Okay. Thanks for bringing your mom and dad. Thank you for coming.
Hi, being one of the teachers.
Oh, thank you, buddy. Good job.
Hi, I'm Penelope, one of the teachers of the ESL program. Hi, I'm Penelope.
Hi, I'm Laura, and ESL teacher.
I'm Olivia.
Hi.
Hi. The crows.
The crows? Is that what you guys are doing for Vineyard? Oh, I don't know. I haven't heard this. Hi. Hi. Hi.
Thank you. They all took the citizenship class at Vineyard.
That is amazing. Wait, can I use this? It's for good. Probably. I'm about to take it out.
You're getting a pretty one.
Okay, with that, thank you everybody for coming down and helping us with our pledge. Coming back out of closed session, all actions approved in closed session must be reported out in open session. Mrs. White, you have something to read for us.
Yes, Mr. President. In closed session, the Board of Education voted 4-0 with one member absent to accept staff recommendation to release one probationary classified employee.
Thank you, Mrs. White. This is the, I'm going to read the procedures for the meeting. This is the regular meeting of the Board of Education for the Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District, where the primary focus is the education of students of this district. During this meeting, members of the public will have the opportunity to share information and voice their ideas and concerns regarding matters within the jurisdiction of this public agency. During the board's discussion of each agenda item, there will be time for you to have the opportunity to speak to that item. If the topic you want to address is not on the agenda, although not mandatory, we would encourage you to please fill out and turn in a tan speaker card. You will then be called to speak on that topic during the communications from the public. If you wish to address the topic that is on the agenda, we encourage you to please fill out and turn in the blue speaker card, and those will just come up to the corner over here of the dais. Again, it's not mandatory to do so to put your name, but please, if you can, so we can identify you. I will call your names in no particular order to speak to the board for no more than 3 minutes, unless otherwise noted. Just as a reminder, our meetings are televised on cable channel 28, Wednesdays at 7 p.m., Saturdays at 9 a.m. Superintendent Bowers, are there any changes to the agenda?
Thank you, Mr. President. We actually do have a few changes to the agenda to report tonight. First of all, we received one piece of correspondence after the agenda was published, but prior to 4 p.m. the day before our meeting. So per policy, that will be summarized by our clerk tonight, Trustee White. And it's also at your table. Secondly, we'd like to table the information item 9.2, Tri-Valley Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics STEM Partnership, and reschedule that for another meeting in the future to be determined. The partnership agency presenters have informed us today that they cannot attend this evening, but they would like to be invited back, and so we'll just continue that till another day. Then at the request of our bond program director, we would like to pull discussion action item 10.5 and 10.6, and these are related to Joe Mitchell K-8 school renovation projects for tonight's agenda, pending further research and review prior to any recommendations being brought forward to our board. And then last but not least, we are moving item 11.12, which is approval of our minutes from the last meeting, away from the consent bundle calendar to separate items for voting, since one of our board members was not present for the open session, though for closed session, and so we'd have to, that person will not get a vote on the minutes. So, and that's it for the changes.
Thank you. A little housekeeping. If there's an emergency or you need to leave, there's exits directly to the back, to this side of the room, and to this side of the room. The restrooms are also on that hallway. And generally for recognitions, there'll be some pictures out in that hall. And if you want to come up behind us and take pictures of whomever we're recognizing, that would be more than happy for you to come out and do that. Superintendent Bowers, we have recognitions.
Certainly, this is always the most delightful and special part of our meeting. So we have 3 very special recognitions tonight, and I'll invite Dr. Kevin Greer, our Director of Curriculum and Special Projects, forward. I believe Regina Brinker will also be joining him. She is our teacher on special assignment. And we will be honoring our students who are Livermore School District Science Odyssey Award winners, as well as our Trash and Show winners, and you can see some of their costumes. So very exciting for all of us.
Good evening, Presiding Board President Rogi, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and Cabinet. I am Kevin Greer, Director of Curriculum and Special Projects. I am joined by Regina Brinker, which is one of our teachers on special assignment that works with our science specialists and teachers and helps with the Science Odyssey, and GATE and a number of other things. It gives me great pleasure this evening to welcome our Science Odyssey winners to the meeting to be recognized for their contributions to this year's event. Little background. On Thursday, February 28, Junction Avenue K-8 hosted the 17th annual Science Odyssey, and over 450 students participated from grades 1 to 12, Families from around the district gathered to see their students' projects and to explore hundreds of others, as well as to visit booths with community organizations, demonstrating scientific concepts in a range of displays. Students put on a trashion show. That's what the fancy fashion that you hear jingling and jangling in the background is. Donning outfits they had made of discarded wrappers, bags, bottles, and more. Projects were judged the day before, on February 27th. As you can imagine, it takes hours, many hours, to put together an event this size, and the whole Livermore community looks forward to it every year. Okay, at this time, this will be fun. At this time, I would like to ask everyone who is here because you won an award to come forward and stand behind me facing that way. And if we can do it, the smallest in the front and the tall people in the back, okay? So if you were in either the Trashion Show, the Science Odyssey, come on up here. All right, and we'll put the little ones up here because we're going to call your names out. Tall ones are going to be right towards the blue chair, so little ones come up this way. Yeah, I think we're going to slowly get out of the way here. All right. All right, so do I have all of the people that are getting recognized tonight from either the Trashion Show or the Science Odyssey for their science fair project? Make sure you guys are all up here. There we go. Now, parents, I will let you know at the end, we're going to stage a photo up here facing this way, so that'll be a great opportunity to get a good photo this way, so you don't have to all squeeze behind President Rogie back there. So, all right.
You're welcome to come on back if you would want to get the full.
All right. So, now, not everyone could be here this evening, but many could. So when I call your name, guys, when I call your name, when you hear it, raise your hand so that they know who you are, so they can see which one you are as I call you. All right. And family members, again, we'll have a photo so you can take one from there. We'll eventually take a stage photo up there. So I'm going to step out of the way. We'll start with the logo design winner. We had our T-shirt design every year, and we have a contest for that. And Connor Smith Kalanico from Junction was our winner. Is Connor here? Do we have Connor? No? All right. So congratulations to Connor. Next, we had our art winners. So we had an art going on there, too. And so Kashik Venkat Anarayanan is the winner right there. Here he goes. All right. I will have plenty of practice with his name because he won in 3 different categories. He won in art, photography, and trashion. All right, so we also had under art winners Aditi Domley. We have that, and we also had Brooklyn Koski, Adrienne Gomez, over there, Hayden Haug, Fiona Smith Kalaniku. Okay, hang on, let me turn the page. All right, so those are all our art winners. All right, then we also have our photography winners. Arjan Gowardhan, right there. Sanjana Bonvadia, we have that one. Kylie Peters, Wyatt Wood, Kashik, I'll just say Kashik for right now. Lauren Merriman, Kat Tavera, Raymond Salcido, and June Mitsumita. And those were all our winners. Thank you, Jude. All right, and then we also had our wonderful Trashion Show winners. Have you guessed what it's made out of, some of the things? Some of them will surprise you. From Joe Mitchell, our Trashion Show, we had Kashik Venkaran, there he is, all right. Danielle Penaflor from Lawrence, Gianna Gazzo from Rancho, Victoria Newman out of Mitchell, Imogen Lockhart from Croce, we also had Sugashri Donabal from Ishwawar. There we go. McKenna Wilhoit, Skylar Wyckoff, Madison Trope, Ava Lynn Alberts, Mia Wilson, Avery Lockhart, Tanusha Meenakshi Sundar, Paisley Vale, Kinsey Hambrick, and that's all of our Trashionistas, as we called them. when they circle around, and you'll get a chance to see them, and you'll shake their hand. You'll see their cool outfits on them. All right, then into the science fair aspect of the night for the Science Odyssey. Our best in show in math and data analysis, and I remember correctly, this was a new category for us in math and data analysis, and our very own Margot Carlton from Vineyard. Raise your hand. Is Margot here? Or is Margot? I thought I had Margot here. Anyway, she had won. And hers was a project called Who We Are, What We See, How Images Affect Our Emotions, which was really cool. Best in show for science projects. Hang on a second. We had Joseph Ing from Altamont. There we go. He project was, does putting weights help a paper airplane go further? We also had Leila Katzbauer from CMS on how much radiation do cell phones emit. Nervous now? We had Serena Battisti from Croce right here. You couldn't pass up her project. It was called Smiled Silly, and you just smiled at the project when you looked at it because it was a smiling, silly project. We had Laura Wiedenmeyer from Livermore High School, which was which natural antibacterial kills more germs, and that was her thing. Best in Show in Engineering, which was sponsored by the Lawrence Livermore National Laboratories. We had Nolan McClung from Altamont right there. Cool idea for engineering. How can you make an LED traffic glove to keep people safe during drop-off? Everyone's like, yeah, how do we pilot that one? All right. All right, then we had a team together from East Avenue. We had Kaylee Speltz and Lily Ann Hurley, both from East Avenue, doing an automatic pet feeder, and they're right there. Any dog owners around? Oh. Then we also had a team of high schoolers, Abby Frazier and Juan Vega. Are they here? Abby and Juan. And they were testing 3D printing mechanical logic gates from the high school project. So congratulations to them, Abby and Juan. And obviously, we couldn't do this sort of event without the Science Odyssey Committee and the teachers that were in the classroom, the support of the families in our community. I mean, we do have a couple of the helpers, the big supporters in the back, the big lifters in the back there. So if you guys could stand up so they could see you, I'm going to read everyone's name just because it was a pretty impressive list. Regina Brinker, who we introduced to you before. We had Roya Hosani from Junction, Jan Bennett from Junction, Donna Lee from Junction, Doug Anderson from Junction, Marissa Mark from Junction, Carissa Cartwell, Teresa Payton from Maryland, Marianne Saporito from Joe, Shannon Higgins from Lawrence, Gabriella Chirica. We had James Sabater from Mendenhall, Amber Catlett from Mendenhall, Donna Rigo, Fenna Gaddy from Altamont. Alex Doggett, Aaron Schwartz from Joe Mitchell, Vivian Lucetta from Sunset, Ann Thompson from Sunset, Jessica Flens, Jenny Martin, Gwen Olness, and Mary Showcare. So we had all of those people there. So thank you very much to those ladies. Okay, so here's the trick. Okay, here's the trick we got to be able to do. We're going to have you guys go up and around the horseshoe and shake hands, but then you have to come back right to here. Okay, so don't go out that way. And parents, if you haven't already picked up the certificate on your way in, on your way out, you can pick it up. All right, so we're going to have them go all the way through the line to shake hands, and also so they can show off some of their cool Trashionista stuff. And then we'll have a big group photo up here, all right? So you get to lead it away. You got it?
We'd
All right,
also
go that
like
way.
the teachers who were involved, if you could also come around the horseshoe, and so we can thank you personally.
And Marianne Saporito, I have you here, and I did not read your name. Marianne, are you here? Real quick, one of the big helpers. There she is. All right, thank you, Marianne. All right, guys, go this way. There we go. I'm having a hot. All righty. Okay, when they all come back here, when they go up there, then the photos from here will make sense. Was you that I talked with at the show that it was your first time and you were a winner right off the bat, right? I thought that was really cool. I thought it was you. Oh, it wasn't. Okay. Oh. Okay, so teachers, why don't you cut through? Hang on, let me let the teachers go through here.
Fashion queen, so Teresa
Oh.
was in charge of this.
Well, I was going to say she's not dressed like Princess Bride.
She should have
but
been.
before. What did they call you? Trashella?
Trash and Cinderella.
Trash and Cinderella. Okay, guys. Okay, you guys group up here, and then we're going to have you up there, okay? Okay, let me count. Did Bob get his photo? Bob, you got your photo? You guys got it? All right, 5, 4, 3. Oh, we got one coming up. There we go. Hang on. Oh, someone's got a cool camera. All right. We call it old-fashioned, but that's a real camera. All right, good job, guys. You followed direction. All right, so you guys can go on, head out that way. Right outside. So if you did not get your certificate, grab it on your way out, all right? Thank you very much. We didn't leave any wrappers.
And for all those that are interested, there's some of the science projects are over here on my left, and some of our artwork of our students on my right. And I have to admit, there's some dresses that could be prom dresses. We'll take just a second here. Emily?
Invite them to stand as we sit there.
All right, we'll go on with the next item. Superintendent Bowers, could you please do the next
Thank you, Mr.
recognition?
President. So now I will re-invite Ms. Carla Estrada Hidalgo. She's our very proud principal of Vineyard Alternative Education to come forward. and she will be introducing some very hardworking staff members who contribute to the students' well-being and success at school.
Good evening again. Acting President Rogie and members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and Cabinet. Again, my name is Carla Estrada Hidalgo, and I'm principal for Vineyard Alternative School as well as Livermore Adult and Community Education. And this evening, I'm here to honor and recognize the efforts of Vineyard's Coordination of Services team, also known as COST. They have been and continue to be an integral part of Vineyard's multi-tiered system of supports. They have created a successful platform where they can focus on students who need the most support and bring with them their unique expertise and offer them guidance towards success. So as a member of this COST team, I'm honored to be working alongside them, and I'm grateful for their dedication and all they do. I present to you Ms. Tammy Turner, Laura Curran, Angie Walker, Brianna Dodd, and Stephen Pangelinin.
And, oh.
And last but not least, we will re-invite Ms. Sarah Waukee forward. She is the very proud Vice Principal for Vineyard Alternative Education and Coordinator of Adult Education, and she'll be introducing and recognizing some hardworking and esteemed staff members.
Good evening, Acting President Rogie. Can you hear me? No. Members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and cabinet members. It is my honor to present to you two of our staff members. I'd like to ask Janet Oliver and Penelope Malaeus Wagner to come up. Both of these women have toiled for years for adult education. Penelope has been a teacher with adult education for 14 years. And we are sad to lose her, but we're happy for her. She is pursuing a job with Castro Valley Adult School where she'll be working with adults with disabilities full time, and that's where her heart is. So we're happy for her to go there. She has taken on traditionally some of the hardest, most challenging of our students to reach. She's currently working with students who don't know how to read in any language. So she's teaching them English and teaching them how to read at the same time. So we will miss her. I know her students will miss her. And I just wanted to say thank you very much to Penelope, and it's an honor to have worked with you.
Thank you.
And I'd like to say thank you and honor Janet Oliver. Janet has been with Livermore School District for 22 years, 6 of those here in Livermore Adult Education, and she is retiring at the end of the school year. So Janet is a champion for adult education. She is the first face that our students see when they walk in the door. She treats everyone with respect and kindness, no matter what language they speak or what language they don't have in common. Janet is patient and kind and welcoming, and the success of our program, I know, has a lot to do with her greeting of every person who walks through the door. So I just wanted to say thank you to Janet and acknowledge all the work that she's done for our program. I'm sorry, one more thing. Janet was recently honored by the California Council for Adult Education for excellence in support services.
Okay, now we're going to go on to our student board member reports. We'll start with Avery, and then we'll go on to Olivia. What's going on at Granada?
Good evening, Acting President Rogie, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and Cabinet. I'm extremely pleased to report Trimester 3 is off to a quick and awesome start. The 3-day weekend after finals was well-deserved, and everyone got refreshed for the final third of the year. To kick off the trimester, we have a Spirit Week this week. Monday was green for St. Patrick's Day. Today was Twin Day. Tomorrow is Camo Day. Thursday is Tie-Dye. And Friday is, of course, our classic black and gold. Our Spirit Games are also back. This is where leadership hosts a contest of student-made teams and keeps track of how many people on each team dress up. And the team to dress up the most at the end gets a prize. Excuse me. My team right now is tied for the lead. Woohoo! And the games are getting a lot more students involved in Granada Spirit, so it's been really fun. This week, we also have a lot going on, including today's homeroom for the underclassmen. They discussed their classes for next year and were instructed on how to register for them, while the seniors got a long lunch. This class registration and information next year continues tomorrow with Granada's annual expo, where future and current students come to see various clubs and groups on campus and can get more information about which classes they want to take in the future. Even more this week, we have Granada's Got Talent on Thursday night for the community, if anyone wants to come, and then during an assembly on Friday for the students. Coming up, we have the 24-hour race to raise money against human trafficking being hosted at Granada this year on April 27th and 28th. I participated last year at the first one in California, and I'm intending to this year, and it's an exhausting but amazing 24 hours. So if anyone knows any high schoolers that want to be interested, they can just go to search 24-hour race on Google and make a team. Spring sports are also in mid-season and doing super well. So overall, as the school year slowly creeps to a close, Granada is in full swing. End of the year events for seniors begin in the coming months, and as we find out where we're going to college and the weather gets warmer, so does the attitude on campus. We're excited for the remainder of the last trimester and cannot wait to see where the spring takes us. Thank you, and as always, go Mats.
Olivia, I'm glad you're back. Last meeting, I had to give the report, and I'm sure you're going to do a much better job than I have.
Good evening, Acting Board President Rogie, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and Cabinet. I'm pleased to report that LHS has had a wonderful start to the trimester. For us seniors, this is both exciting and bittersweet, as we head into our final days at Livermore High. Regardless, everyone is glad that the trimester 2 finals are over and we have a fresh start. This week, we're having a culture week to honor the diversity at Livermore High. Today, students and faculty wrote what they were thankful for about their culture, and leadership students added their responses to a map of the world. It is a wonderful way to celebrate the diversity at Livermore High. Leadership also successfully held a blanket drive. We gathered blankets to donate to individuals who are homeless. It was a great way to come together to help our community. Junior prom is this weekend, and the theme is Arabian Nights. ASB is working out the last-minute details, I'm sure even as we speak, and can't wait to see the product of all their hard work. Mr. Cowboy is next Friday. The contestants are all nervous and excited. The show is coming together really well, which is kind of surprising. Working with 12 boys is really hard. And I can't wait to see who takes home the title of Mr. Cowboy. We're also feeling bittersweet about it coming to an end, because it can be stressful at times, but I'm going to miss them. And spring sports are also in action right now. Volleyball is actually playing against Granada at Livermore High, so I'm excited to see the results of that. Thank you, and today is a great day to be a cowboy.
I'm sorry, what was that last part?
Today is a great day to be a cowboy.
Awesome,
I didn't
thank
get to
you.
repeat mine.
Yeah, no. And onward to employee associations. Mrs. Sorrell, would you like to come up and let's hear what's going on?
Good evening, Acting President Rogie, members of the school board, Superintendent Bowers, members of the cabinet, members of the audience here and at home. My name is Kate Sorrell, and I am the president of the Livermore Education Association. I am very excited to announce that William Razor, a teacher at Granada High School, will receive the Al Costa Human Rights Award on April 13th, 2019. Al Costa includes every school district in Alameda and Contra Costa County. The criteria to receive this award includes helping to protect and advance the human rights and civil rights of all educators and students. LEA provided him with the opportunity to learn about the FAIR Act and other California legislation designed to protect the rights of California public school students. With support from the superintendent, William has shared his knowledge with district and site-level administrators to continue to ensure a safe and inclusive environment for all of our students and staff. Over the course of the school year, LEA has provided $13,360 to members to attend workshops, conferences, and webinars in order to improve their practice. Math, drama, science, tech, music, and film are just some of the disciplines that have benefited from our PD and conference grant funds. As of this evening, 60 educators have benefited from this opportunity, taken what they have learned back to their sites to share with their peers, and used their knowledge to improve instruction and assessment. Amy Thompson, Mamie Kristovich, Superintendent Bowers, and President Bueno attended a full and fair funding coalition breakfast meeting on March 6th at the Alameda County Office of Education. Every school district in Alameda County was represented. The purpose of the meeting was to bring together union leaders, superintendents, and school board members to create a plan that will result in all public schools receiving full and fair funding from the state of California. Where does California rank? Well, we are the 6th largest economy in the world. Not in the 50 states, in the world. And yet, we are 41st in funding per student. What can we do to change the status quo? Well, to begin with, we can attend the rally on April 3rd in Sacramento from 12 to 1:30, which is hosted by the East Bay Coalition of Public Educators. Leaders of the movement will meet with legislators from 8:30 to 11:30. 2, we can vote yes on the California Schools and Local Community Funding Act on the 2020 ballot. Finally, we can support Assembly Bill 39, which includes a $35 billion increase above the current targets. These targets, if funded through Prop 98, would take California back to the top 10 in per pupil funding, a rank we held prior to the passage of Prop 13. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Sorrell. And now, do we have anybody else CSEA? Is Ms. Kristovich? Good evening.
Good evening, Acting President Rogie, members of the board, President Superintendent Bowers and cabinet members. My name is Mamie Kristovich, president of CSEA. Last month, I shared with you that we would be sending 4 of our paraeducators to CSEA's 22nd Annual Paraeducator Conference at the Sacramento Convention Center. That conference was held the first week of March, and I have received positive feedback from our members about their experience. I think every attendee has a different perspective, and they took something unique away with them at the close. One of the paras who works one-on-one with an inclusion student shared that a common theme she learned is that we need to establish a bond with special ed students, but not one that makes them dependent on their para. She plans to bring back what she learned at the conference to help her student become more independent. She said one presenter mentioned that their goal should be to work themselves out of a job, which I find simple yet profound. Another para who attended on her own time last year still found this year's conference quite helpful. I'd like to share something she learned at one of the workshops she attended, presented by a retired school psychologist. To summarize 3 main points: first, approach from a positive place with confidence and certainty. Second, focus on what is working and not just what is not working. And third, provide relevant and meaningful feedback. These are 3 basic points that I feel can be applied in every relationship, really, at a personal or professional level. The 4 paraeducators who attended the conference will be sharing some of the things they learned with other district paraeducators at the March 27th training hosted by our special ed department. I'd like to thank Frank Salvaggio for allowing them to take part in the training and hope that the district will continue to support release time for our paras to attend next year. Last month, I also talked about our annual scholarship awards dinner scheduled for May 14. This is the perfect time to celebrate classified school employees, but for me, it also means an opportunity to give back to our members in a way of scholarships. Our Livermore chapter awards 3 scholarships to the children of our members in good standing, 2 to high school seniors and 1 to a continuing college student. This is one of my favorite committees to serve on, as I find myself in awe of the wonderfully talented and promising students that currently attend or previously attended school in our district. I find myself moved beyond words as I read the life stories that are submitted by each applicant, and I would award a scholarship to each student if I could. The scholarship committee looks at a variety of different criteria, and the process is admittedly a challenging one. I'm grateful for the diligence of our committee members who serve with me. Applications just went out, and I'm already excited to learn about this year's group of graduating seniors and continuing college students. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Teresa Jennings, CSEA, or SEIU, not here, and Cindy Martinez. And now we're going to move on to communications from the public. Communications from the public is the time for the public to comment either in writing or verbally on any item that is not on the agenda. The board may listen to the comment and ask staff clarifying questions, but they neither discuss nor take action at this meeting on topics that are not on the agenda in accordance with the Brown Act. If you'd like to address a topic that is not on this evening's agenda, now is the time to do so. We ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes and that each speaker may speak once. Any takers? All right, thank you. Now we're going to correspondence. Formal written correspondence to the Board of Education shall be acknowledged if received by the board or in the superintendent's office by 4 p.m. the day before the meeting. Formal written correspondence received after the cutoff time will be acknowledged at the following meeting. Electronic communications received via the Livermore Valley Joint Unified Schools District website by accessing the formal written correspondence to the Board of Education link, and with all the fields completed and verified shall be treated as formal written correspondence. Mrs. White, is there any correspondence for the board?
Yes, Mr. President, we received something prior to 4 p.m. yesterday, which I need to acknowledge. Carpenters Local 713, the field representative, sent to the board correspondence, period. The local included a bid advisory and supporting documents regarding the Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District Mitchell K-8 school new construction project.
Thank you, Mrs. White. All right, moving on now to information discussion items. Superintendent Bowers, would you please introduce our first presenter?
Certainly. I will re-invite Dr. Kevin Greer forward. He's our Director of Curriculum and Special Projects, and he will be presenting an overview along with our elementary technology specialist, known also as our Unite team. They'll be presenting an overview of what they've been accomplishing with educational technology. And this is information only.
There. I think we'd all sit up there. All right, so good evening, President Rogi, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and cabinet members. Tonight I'm pleased to present members of the Unite team, which include Julie Jensen, our District Integrated Technology Specialist, and our Elementary Technology Specialists, Noah King, Michelle Zugling, and Christina Pinto. And I'm going to turn over the program from here to them over there, the Unite team.
All right, so for a little bit of background, initially there was one integrated technology specialist that bridged IT and curriculum and supported K through 12 technology. Soon after the major Chromebook rollout, the Measure G parcel tax passed, which designated elementary technology specialists to support K through 5 technology integration into the curriculum. Now these three elementary technology specialists together with myself make up the Unite team. Unite stands for Utilizing New and Innovative Technologies in Education. I am the District Integrated Technology Specialist and am joined by these three elementary technology specialists, Michelle, Noah, and Christina. And our main focus is helping teachers integrate technology in their curriculum to benefit students. Oh, wait. I went ahead. Okay.
All right. So right from the beginning, our mission has been to provide support to teachers with implementing technology in their classrooms. It's always been our goal to integrate technology seamlessly and effectively into curriculum so that teachers aren't seeing it as just one more thing to do in class, but rather as an integral tool for learning. Today, we are going to share just 2 examples of ways we've worked with teachers to utilize technology to enhance and address the goals of specific lessons. The first example occurred in a 3rd grade classroom for a narrative writing assignment. On the left, you can see a progression of work that starts with their pre-writing. After they storyboarded and outlined their story, they wrote a long version, which you can see here is typed up in Google Docs. From there, they took their pre-writing script and created a video of their story by finding pictures online that matched what they envisioned during their pre-writing lesson. And this was the culminating activity for this assignment. We would love to show you the completed video now.
No Deer Allowed by Nicholas Cardinale. My first hunting camping trip in the woods was far away from home. When camping with wild animals around, hide your food at night. One night we forgot to hide the food and it was left in the open. Several deer came into our campsite and ate our food, including my favorite banana nut bread. We had to clean up a big mess so the deer wouldn't come back. My mom made me another banana nut bread and put a note on it that said for Pete only, no deer allowed.
I'm not sure his mother would appreciate the picture he chose to represent her. Here's a different application of technology usage with students. For this assignment, 2nd graders were given a curated list of resources they could use to research a specific famous American. The list is actually a grouping of QR codes, which students learn to scan using their Chromebooks. After reading or watching the required material, students then completed an organizational chart that displayed their newfound knowledge. These are just 2 small examples of the ways we have worked to implement technology into the curriculum in a seamless way.
Over the last 3 years, our district has adopted 2 large curriculums. These adoptions were Benchmark Advanced for English Language Arts and Pearson Investigations for Math. Both of these curriculums have had technological platforms, and they are Benchmark Universe and Pearson Realize. As you can see in our data, a significant amount of our appointments have been focused on supporting our newest district adoption. We've been coaching and supporting many teachers across the elementary sites in navigating the Benchmark Universe platform, accessing online teacher resources, assigning digital content, analyzing assessment data, and customizing books. We've also been working with teachers to help their students access online resources, assignments, assessments, and reading materials. In looking at the data, you do not see a specific column for Pearson Realize. That's because most of the work that we have done with Pearson this year is actually noted under the Google Apps section. This year, Pearson Realize became compatible with Google Classroom. Because of this, teachers can now create digital math assignments and assign them to their students via Google Classroom. This allows their students easier access to digital math content by reducing the steps that it takes for them to complete in accessing their materials. And then we have our newsletters. One of our main outreach components that the Unite team uses to meet the needs of all elementary teachers is our monthly newsletter, EdTech News. This publication is generally a one-page document that focuses on the tech platforms that our district has adopted, and then tech tools that help integrate technology into the core content areas, quick instructional videos or documents that help teachers learn how to improve their skills with our district technology, and a monthly shout out to recognize the amazing things that our teachers are doing to strengthen their tech skills for all of our students.
And you should have a couple copies of that in your folder if you want to check them out closer. A huge part of what we do as a team is collaborate as a group to improve our practice. We meet weekly to discuss what is going on and brainstorm new ways to support teachers. To increase our effectiveness in supporting elementary teachers with innovative uses of technology, we attend and present at various local, regional, and national conferences. Because of this, the Unite team is able to create relationships with professionals in similar roles across the country and stay current on EdTech-related publications and sites. Something new this year that we've become involved in is the Wednesday Professional Learning PD sessions that all teachers attend. Using telepresence technology and screencasting, the Unite team now assists in training teachers while allowing them to remain at their sites. Previously, teachers had to drive to locations to receive professional development, which is no longer necessary for all trainings. Using the telepresence and screencasting, the Unite team has trained teachers on technology tools from the curriculum, as well as assisting other content area coaches in such trainings. The team has also helped integrate screencasting, which is basically recording a computer screen demo with a voiceover, into these trainings. Previously, once a professional development session ended, there was no way for teachers to access the content again. Now all sessions are saved online so that teachers can access and review each one in its entirety as needed. The Unite team is willing and available to help other curriculum department members and district leaders create content for our district professional development library. Just so you can kind of see what it looks like, this slide is a screenshot of the professional development library available to all teachers.
So in addition to coaching teachers in the classrooms, we've also started working with many of them in their site's new makerspaces. These are STEAM-centered rooms on a school campus where students and teachers can come to work on science, technology, engineering, art, and math projects using a variety of materials. As you can see from these photos, this could include working with robotics, coding, or green screen video, just to name a few examples. The Unite team also continued to extend our reach beyond the four walls of the classroom this year by creating instructional videos for parents with a focus on the various online resources and tools available to them. Some topics that we started with include accessing assignments in our adopted curriculums of Benchmark and Pearson, or how to register a new student for TK or kindergarten. We're just going to show you a quick look at one of these videos to give you an idea of the type of content that we're creating for parents.
Hi, I'm Noah.
And I'm Michelle, and today we are here to show you and your students how to access Benchmark tools and assignments from home.
Benchmark Advance is the English Language Arts program that all students in kindergarten through 5th grade are using.
Before we start, make sure your student has opened a Chrome browser window and has signed into their school Google account. If you are unsure how to do this, please contact your student's teacher.
Once you're logged into Chrome, you'll notice a button called LVJUSD.org bookmarks near the upper left corner of your browser window. Click this button and then click on Clever Portal.
Click on the Log In with Active Directory button and use the same login credentials that you signed into Chrome with.
Once your student is logged in, you will see this dashboard. You can immediately see that the student has 3 current assignments. To view them, click on the blue Assignments button.
From this screen, you can see the status of each assignment. The green check on the bottom assignment means the student has already completed it and turned it in. The blue clock icon indicates when an assignment is in progress, and the purple circle with an X inside means the student has not yet started that assignment.
To the right of the assignment's names, you can see when each assignment is due. Any assignment can be opened simply by clicking on its name, and then click the Open icon, which looks like an open book. Thank you, and enjoy using Benchmark Advance. Another way that the team has extended our reach this year is by offering support and professional development to all stakeholders at a site, including those that don't work directly in a classroom. No matter what role our various employees serve at their school sites, having a staff that's trained and knowledgeable in the technology that they need to do their jobs ultimately results in a stronger academic experience for our students. To that end, this year, we've provided trainings for various non-teacher groups, including administrative staffs, nurses, and Kid Connection specialists.
For next steps, the team will continue to support teachers in integrating technology into their curriculum. We will continue to update and develop content and resources for teacher training. We will meet often to analyze data to improve our practice and our reach. Finally, we will continue to attend and present at conferences to stay current on educational technology tools and practices. This concludes the presentation. We would be more than happy to answer any questions.
And I would like to add that they just returned from presenting at the nationally renowned Q conference, where they had a session or two that they were making presentations in Palm Springs.
Yes.
So they look a little more tan than the rest of us, but actually they were very much indoors because they had over 80-something people in just one of their sessions on the last day of a conference, which, you know, if you've got a crowd coming on the last day of a conference, you're pretty popular. So after lunch, no, yeah, that's true.
After lunch, yeah.
So you know that's great. And anyway, we also want to say happy birthday to Julie Jensen, whose birthday is here tonight, so she's as well.
I'm spending it with you guys.
So any questions or comments?
Thank you. Mr. Wetzel? Mrs. White?
I just say you've come a long way, baby. What else?
Thank you.
Mrs. Brousseau?
Okay, first I want to say that I'm equally comforted and terrified that third graders know more than I do on how to navigate technology. I just wanted to ask, first of all, say that I think it's great. It's a great service that you guys are doing, because I know as an adult that there are many things that many oftentimes, including teachers, nurses, whoever, need help with in this area. And if our 7-year-old isn't around to help us, then it's nice to have a team that can do that. But also, my question was, I like that you're doing the content for parents, because obviously I need help with that. But where is that online somewhere, or how does that work?
Thank you for that question. As of today, our most recent video, which is a video tour of the LVJUSD mobile app, is available on the livermoreschools.org webpage, right on the front page. There's also a section that's parent and guardian resources, where within the next week or so, all of those videos will be housed there and can be found there.
Wonderful. I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I love the presentation. I like the integration of motion and everything that's in it within the windows. It's very well done. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
Could we ask them to come around so we could thank them personally? Is that okay? Okay.
I bet. Thank you.
Thank you.
Still wish you were in Palm Springs?
No, I'm glad to be back.
Thanks so much. Great presentation.
Thank you so much. Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. 9.2 was tabled, so 9.3.
Yes, so for this item, we will ask Mr. Mike Biondi, our Assistant Superintendent of Educational Services, to, for information only, give you an update on our local control accountability plan, also known as LCAP.
Thank you. Good evening, Acting President Rogie, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and Cabinet. So tonight I have an update which is really on the process that we go through in order to develop our LCAP. As a reminder, just about the purpose of the LCAP. The LCAP is for the goals, needs, and actions addressing the instructional demands of all students, with special attention paid to the specific needs of low-income students, foster youth, and English learners. In short, our plan is really about our students and their needs. So how districts build their LCAP is beginning with the goals, and our Board of Education has established 3 goals that align directly with the state priorities. And then we assess our needs related to the goals. Again, we emphasize the needs of English learners, socioeconomically disadvantaged students, and foster youth. And these needs are really informed by our district stakeholders. Finally, we assign actions that meet the needs. So these are the plans that we have to address the needs, along with the budgetary considerations that support those actions. And we develop these with our stakeholders, site, and district instructional leadership. Here is a look at the timeline that we go through. We actually begin in November by updating our measurable outcomes. So there's annual measurable outcomes. In other words, the part of the plan that you can measure, we report on every year. And so we begin in November by reviewing those actions. Some of them we can identify the measurable outcomes very quickly and easily, such as the number of credentialed teachers that we had at the beginning of the year, the number of facilities in good repair, etc. And we continue updating the progress on our goals, and we begin in January through March securing input from our stakeholders. By April, we will have, by the end of April, we'll have a draft of the LCAP to present to our committees for review and comment, and we'll also post that on our district website. In May, the superintendent will respond in writing to any questions and comments from parent advisory committees or those who go to our website and submit questions by email or phone call. And we will use that to modify and finalize the LCAP. And in June, we will bring it for public hearing at the first meeting in June and request approval at the last meeting in June. And at the last meeting in June, we will do that in conjunction with our 2019-20 budget. As I mentioned before, stakeholder engagement is a really important part of developing our LCAP. So these meetings have been going on. Really, this is stakeholder engagement season. We've been very busy with different groups, and these meetings go deeper into the current goals and identified areas for growth in our district, and our stakeholders they go through a process where they can provide input directly related to the 3 goals. And for those parents who don't or not able to attend the meetings that we hold, we have a survey that asks a broad range of questions, but it does include questions directly related to our 3 LCAP goals. Here is a list of some of the stakeholder engagement events that we've had, and one that isn't on the list was in January when we had our board budget priorities workshop, which also is aligning our priorities as related to the LCAP. But we engaged with our leadership team in January. Our LCAP committee, we've had 2 meetings, and our next one is tomorrow night. And our district English Language Advisory Committee, another board-appointed committee, we've had 2 meetings as well, and we'll engage with them again next week on Monday. We just met with the Livermore Education Association last week, and our parent survey has closed, and we were happy to see an increase in participation over the past 2 years. Each year we've had 700 to 800 more parents participate. And this year, those parents represented over 5,000 of our students. So we're really increasing that participation level. And we also, for the first time, had a stakeholder engagement event with our parent Club Information Council, or PCIC. And we're also reaching out to other employee associations during the engagement season to get their input as well. The guiding question that we ask for the 3 goals is what will help all of our students reach our identified needs and goals. As a reminder, goal 1 is to increase the percentage of students who have the skills and knowledge to graduate from high school, college, and or career ready. And as a reminder, last year, this is kind of some of, not all of, the results of our stakeholder engagement is that we added Learning Ally audiobooks, and these are new to this current year's LCAP. We supported 5th grade science camp, our outdoor education program, in funding the gap if schools were not able to secure enough donations or fundraisers to attend. We added middle college to our LCAP to secure its future. We supported the Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District Framework for Success, which is our version of multi-tiered systems of support. We began implementing universal screening tools with our Cohort 1 schools and academic interventions. We started our early learning math initiative, and just earlier tonight actually, we had a parent and child event called Family Counting Night, and it was very well attended. There was a session in English and Spanish, and that is part of the early learning math initiative. It was a great event. And there were federal cuts to the migrant education budget, and so the LCAP, in wanting to secure that very, very successful program, took over some of the funding so that we can continue with our strong migrant education program. As we've been engaging with stakeholders, we're still synthesizing all of the input that we've received. It's been very thoughtful and helpful. Some of the things that have come out for Goal 1, themes that we've seen are that the desire to have all of our students have access to musical instruments and equipment due to the popularity of our music programs, and some students are not able to purchase or rent their instruments. There is a strong desire to increase the universal and screening and progress monitoring tools that we began with the 5 cohort schools to more schools. There are also very strong input on our career and technical education to provide options for all students' interests, even those students who are not immediately interested in the college pathway. And Tier 2 and Tier 3 intervention materials, so additional supports for those students who don't get all of their needs met through our strong Tier 1 instruction. And also extension and enrichment opportunities to provide appropriate challenges for all of our students. So those are some of the themes that have been emerging as we've engaged. And also, so our LCAP is one plan, but we also have other plans. As you are aware of, you recently approved the California Department of Education Low Performing Students Block Grant, which is complementary and supplementary to the LCAP. We also just recently completed our process with the Alameda County Office of Education, differentiated assistance plans, and some of these plans overlap more than one of our goals, but those two are also very closely related to our LCAP Goal 1. Goal 2 is to provide an engaging, clean, healthy, and physically and emotionally safe environment to support student learning at the highest levels. New to our current year's LCAP, based on the input of our stakeholders last year, was the addition of counselors in the middle and high schools, the addition of 2 high school vice principals, the support for the implementation of our Choose Love social emotional curriculum, and positive behavior interventions and supports. The feedback we've had, the initial feedback, and as I mentioned, we're still gathering and collecting that, is that there is interest in physical education support in the elementary schools. There is a strong desire for additional mental health support for our students, mental health and behavioral support. There's also input that we really need to coordinate very closely, even more, with our community partners. And really the thoughts are that our community must come together to address the many challenges that our students face. Some of those challenges originate and exist outside of the school day and need support outside of our school system. But we can certainly coordinate with our partners to provide that. There's also interest in positive behavior intervention and support and restorative practice to expand the work that we began last year. And so we've implemented the Choose Love Social Emotional curriculum. Also, we want to measure the success and the impact of that program, and so we've begun by using the Panorama Social Emotional Learning Assessment, and we have a partnership with Kaiser Permanente to do that, to really measure the impact of our social emotional curriculum. The coordinated plans for Goal 2 really are a few grants that you're aware of. The Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration Grant, also known as SAMHSA. The Mental Health Awareness Training Grant, also known as MHAT, and our Community-Oriented Policing Service Grants. All of these grants directly support our Goal 2. Goal 3 is to enhance parent and community engagement and communication. And as you recall, due to the input, we implemented the Blackboard communication tools, including the website, the app, and the notification system. We implemented Parent Institute for Quality Education, also known as PK, in partnership with the Pedrosi Foundation. And part of the reason that I mentioned our survey got more feedback is we're using Qualtrics, which is a research and experience software. So it's much more than a survey tool and really allows us not only to get more parents to participate in a survey, but also for us to learn more from their feedback. Some things that we're considering for Goal 3 this year is that we added some questions to our survey. And some of those questions asked parents, based on the amount of recommended homework that for each grade level, how much time their students are spending doing homework. Asking, is it less time than is expected, about the expected amount, or more time? And so we're going to take a close look at that and make sure that our very strong homework policy is being implemented the way it is intended to. It also asked about reading time at home, as we know that is a strong academic support. And it asks for specifics on how we and schools as well can increase parent volunteers. We also are developing a parent engagement strategic plan this year. And some other plans that also relate to Goal 3 are the Proposition 47 Attendance Grant, that's Goal 2 and Goal 3, and also the SAMHSA and the MHAT grant. So one item that I've mentioned would be new, but then the implementation was delayed until this June when we implement our LCAP, is the federal addendum. And the federal addendum really is the link between our LCAP and the federal Every Student Succeeds Act. And so it will ensure our compliance with ESSA. So we will continue to engage our community. And that is where we are in our LCAP development process. We will come back in June with the LCAP draft and public hearing, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Biondi. Russell.
Okay, I had a lot of questions, but you answered most of them in your presentation, so you'll be happy to know that. So one of my questions was about the stakeholders, and I just want to make sure that I have this correctly. I think you had it on one of the slides. So that would be like the leadership team, the LCAP committee, the DLAC, and the LEA Parents Survey, and then the PCIC. Those are stakeholders. Okay. So then one of my questions is, and I think you kind of touched on this, is how I'm assuming that you get a lot of feedback because you're talking to a lot of different stakeholders, which is good. But how do you assess and get through with the feedback to make changes that reflect the whole group? Like, how do you?
That's a great question. What we do is we look for themes in that feedback, because people have a lot of ideas. Every idea that people have is not necessarily going to make it into the LCAP. but we look at kind of our assessed needs, our data, and we match that with themes that we hear. And so last year we're really hearing about student supports and safety and additional social emotional support, and that's kind of the result of that was additional counselors and vice principals. And so we really listen to the stakeholders and try to identify those themes, and they just kind of naturally emerge throughout this process. And I think that's part of the beauty of this process. It really is authentic engagement. It's really listening to people and having face-to-face conversations. And then with our survey tool, we really can do a lot with those who can't actually be there face-to-face. Yeah.
Okay. And then you talked about in November, you look at the measurable outcomes from the previous year, correct?
Correct. Some are from current year.
Okay.
But for example, the academic indicators are the previous year's academic data as reported on our dashboard.
Right. Okay. And then that can help you in making decisions for the next LCAP plan.
So we really use the most current data available, and our academic data just won't be available for this year until this summer.
Okay, right. And then one thing that I did want to say that I went to the PK workshop. I don't know what you call it. Yes. And I thought that it was really good, but honestly, I think the reason why the section that I was in, which was the English-speaking section, was so good is because Philomena was in the room with us, and so she was able to answer really district-specific questions. So my preference would be, I know this would be a lot of work, maybe it wouldn't happen in this year, but was that we had a district-specific curriculum, something that we put on ourselves rather than contracting with an outside. I don't know how that worked, but I just felt like it was more, I thought the whole thing was a great idea. It was great to have the Spanish and the English separate, and it would be great to get more parents involved. There were a lot of parents there, but to get even more. But for me, I think I can speak for the other people in the room, and probably Philomena can speak to this as well, that a lot of the questions were very specific to our district, and it was really helpful to have someone in there who could answer those questions.
We really appreciate that feedback, and as I spoke with Philomena as we debriefed PK, we really did feel like we could do that in-house. And so it was great to have PK kind of come out and deliver the model for us, but we have had those conversations about we could really do this and make it very true to deliver more experience. And so
and if I can add, that's also a model that is successful in other forms. So for instance, we're partnering with two parents from Pleasanton, and we're offering an Angst, which is a showing of a movie about students and young people dealing with anxiety and outcomes. And so that's something that someone else brings to us, but then the panel that we are going to have at the one at the Bankhead that's coming up, our panel will have those parents and a local pediatrician, but also it will have our counselor and our psychologist and two of our alumni and students who are talking about their experiences. And so it's so even if we get something from elsewhere, rather than reinventing the wheel, if there's something that works, it is always important that then the panel will be a lot more valuable, because then students will be able, and parents will be able to ask about, okay, what happens in our district in relation to these things. So that's a really great suggestion, and we're definitely taking it to heart in other forums also.
Okay. And then just one more comment. I see, and again, this was probably obviously not the in-depth, the whole thing, but I see a lot of focus on tier 2 and 3, which I think is really good. But, and probably maybe in a more detailed account, I would like to see what we're doing to support strong tier 1 instruction across the board, and then possibly lessening tier 2 and tier 3 needs if we have that, which again, may not have been addressed in this, but is possibly there, but that's one thing that I would like to see.
Yeah, you're absolutely right on with that, is that we can't meet all of our students' needs with tier 2 and 3, and so essential is the strong tier 1 instruction, and that has been the theme for our professional learning Wednesdays with our teacher. Right. And also it's really supported by the curriculum adoptions that we've done recently, is getting high quality curriculum in the hands of our teachers and then helping them become expert users of that high quality curriculum. That's the tier 1 plan, and that's the theme that we've had throughout our professional development. So.
Yeah, and I agree. I think the curriculum is a big part of it, and I would see that as being a big part of the Tier 1. So I'm glad we were able to do that. I think that's all I have.
Thank you. Mrs. White.
Yes, yes, it seems to me, and we're spending the, $5 million of the LCAP this way. And we've purchased counselors and additional vice principals and spent a lot of it that way. But as you go through your discussion, you've talked about grants. Now, grants are usually income. So do we use part of the LCAP money to partner with the grant? I mean, I'm just talking dollars and cents, and I'm putting columns together, and grants income.
Correct. Yeah, what my purpose in including those additional plans was to show that the LCAP is one of our plans. But there are other plans that support our LCAP goals. And so our low-performing students block grant supports our LCAP. It's just not part of it. So I think the attempt was to kind of illustrate that we're all kind of working together to meet these goals with all of our resources.
They sort of mesh together.
And it also goes back to kind of the teaching that we learned, which is everything in our budget is not in the LCAP, but everything in the LCAP has to be in our budget, because the LCAP is limited funding targeted in supplemental ways by the students who are in the categories that require that. And so it's our foster youth, our English learners, our socioeconomically disadvantaged students. They get specialized funding, but a lot of the things we're doing help all students. And so we expand beyond that with the other funding sources.
And you know me, I'm eager to see the progress that we're making. This was a process, not a progress report, but I'm waiting for progress. Thank you.
Mr. Wenzel.
Since you touched on grants, I'm looking at the COPS grant. Is that something that we're involved with now, or is that more law enforcement and then they apply?
So that is really, it's a partnership. And so it's the community policing aspect. And in our case, it is the linking of our video surveillance systems, our cameras, to the police network. It's also emergency supplies on campus in case of an emergency. And so it's really that community policing in the context of the schools. That we received that, I believe, Dr. Bowers, in a joint application with the City of Livermore and the school district.
And the way it worked this summer, we were awarded 3 different grants that were federal grants, and they were required. One of them we received on our own, which is a SAMHSA, but we did it in partnership with them as in cooperation in our mental health. But the other 2 require the police department to be the lead agency. It's just a requirement. And so they reached out to us and we reached out to them and said, can you be the lead person? But we know that most of this is going to go toward youth. And one of them is shared in part, I think it's that one, with schools that aren't even in our school district. We reached out to Montessori and our Savior's Lutheran and the, I think it was the Catholic elementary too.
Yep.
So any schools here, the private schools, were also included if they wanted to, and they submitted a letter of support, and so that they would also get something. Because if there is some kind of major crisis, we're going to take care of all kids in Livermore, regardless of where they attend.
So I understand, so it becomes part of our budget, or they control it and send over, how does that work? Just so I understand a little bit.
So out of the 3 grants, one of the, is it 1 or 2, Teresa probably knows better than I do, that are in our books, and then 1 is not.
Okay, so it's probably, okay.
But it's very clearly delineated in the grant how the funds must be expended. And so we all have to do anything with federal, you would know, if we know, is that there's a lot of compliance and reporting that takes place to make sure that every amount is spent accurately.
And then last thing, I mean, this is excellent, reaching out to different groups, getting information, pulling in all this data. Can you explain to me the survey of parents? Are we doing enough? Is there a better outreach we can do to get that information from parents?
I believe that the Qualtrics survey tool that we're using is actually a much more effective way of surveying, and so our response rates have increased significantly. And so just a couple of elements that it adds to us is the ability to personalize the letter that goes along with it, so it's actually addressed by name to the parent or guardian that's receiving it. It also sends reminders that only to the people who haven't completed it. So if you complete the survey, you don't get that annoying email that says, please complete the survey when you've already done it. So it's more targeted outreach. And then also there was a text reminder, which was really effective. I believe the day of the text reminder, we got 300 to 500 more responses as a result. So we're always looking to increase and improve response and engagement, but I think we've seen a very successful result this year in increasing engagement.
Thank you, Mr. Wenzel. I just have two quick questions. You've already mentioned, I think, part of this, but where does the public go to view the draft of the LCAP?
So that will be, we're now required to have one-click access. So on our website, we have an LCAP link, and it is not available yet. Well, the current year's LCAP is available, but our draft LCAP for the 1920 school year will be available by the end of April, and it will be one-click access. So you'll be able to find a button and click on it and not have to kind of navigate through our website to find it. Just as a note, we're also, all of our Brown Act meetings are one-click access to the agendas on our website as well, and we're required to do that now.
Thank you. And then also, is there any fiscal impact to our general fund, or is this all grant and budgeted? If you can explain that part.
Well, I'll ask Susan to help me. She is the co-chair, but this is a large chunk of our budget.
So any increases to the LCAP, the ones that are obviously funded through grants will not impact the general fund, but we do apply the cost of living adjustment that the governor has proposed, and then that also goes on to the supplemental funds, so that is included into the LCAP. Does that make sense?
It does. Any services that come out of LCAP, does that come out of the grants, or does that come out of general fund? Any decisions for action?
So all the supplemental funding that we get through the LCFF is in the LCAP. And then there's some additional things that are part of base funding that are also in the LCAP. So as Superintendent Bowers mentioned, everything in the LCAP is in our budget, but not everything in the budget is in the LCAP. So it is a little complicated.
But we have quite a few actions that aren't part of the LCAP that are grant funded. So they're kind of an additional source of funding and additional actions that we're able to take as a result of those grants.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much for the presentation. All right, moving on to 10.0, Dr. Bowers.
Thank you. So for our next item, we'll invite Dr. Kevin Greer to come forward. I see him eagerly approaching, and he is our Director of Curriculum and Special Projects, and he'll be presenting the next two items, which will be updated course descriptions. These are elective English courses. And I see Livermore High School teacher Carol Meilenbeck is present also. And is this Samantha Cole? Okay, Samantha Cole and Mark Cabasino. Oh, we got the whole group here. Okay, thank you for being here. I know it's a long day for you.
All right, so good evening, Acting President Rogi, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, members of Cabinet. I'm here tonight to present a revised high school course for your approval. I have invited Samantha Cole, Granada High School English Department teacher, to be here tonight should you have any questions about the course. Oops. Are we?
Start with poetry, and then we'll go to the science
That's what I
fiction.
thought. All right, there we go.
If that's okay. We just don't want one more change to the agenda, sorry. Because the minutes, we're going to have a hard enough time.
I'm good with that. I'm good with that. The above stated, and then I am invited Mark Cabasino and Carol Meilenbeck from Livermore High School English Department to be here tonight should you have any questions. The course is a revised course exploring poetry, Previously, this course was taught at Livermore High School many years ago, and now it's being brought forward for your consideration to bring it back to both high schools. It was last approved and revised in 2001. This is an elective English course that is a one-trimester long course. As such, it meets one semester of English credit for either 11th or 12th grade. Students in this course, you can read the things up there, will read, analyze, understand poetry from a variety of sources. Students will regularly have collaborative discussions around poetry meaning, structure, theme, and they'll have these conversations with students and whole class instructors. Students will use the technology to produce, publish, and update individual and shared writing projects. And as we do with some of our courses that we bring forward, when we do, we're also doing it to ensure that the content reflects current standards and is written to the new College Board format for its means in there. And so the superintendent's recommendation would be that we would approve the 912 updated course description exploring poetry. And so if you have any questions regarding the course, Carol and Mark are both here to help answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Mr. Wenzel.
I think it's very interesting. It's exciting. I wish I had something like this when I was going to high school, but then the first question I have is what happened in 2001 where it went away? I mean, do you have any idea?
Well, what typically happens is a course just wasn't taught for a number of years, and then when it goes and hasn't been on the books for a while, it then has to be brought back up, which is also a great time for us to revise the course to meet any of the new standards, language arts standards as they've been changed, or any of the formatting that may have also been asked for from the college.
So what happened years ago, we were one of the districts that actually didn't require 4 years of English for a strange reason way back. And so when, but we did require 4 years of history, which was unusual. But what we did is, when I was in curriculum, actually 2001, we added a whole series of different elective courses for seniors so that they didn't just have to take the kind of basic core English. And so we developed all these courses with both high schools. They were approved for both high schools, but we always end up offering the course based on student interest. And some teachers preferred to teach certain courses, and so the students would sign up. If they didn't sign up for it, then it wouldn't be offered. Every year you submit to UC which courses are being offered, but we approve them for all 4. And then over the years, if the interest waned at all, because we've added so many other courses, then instead of offering it at one school, at both schools, maybe one kept it going. So now we're getting increased interest. Both of our high schools are up in enrollment, and so there's more interest in it. There's teachers who want to teach it, so now we're making sure it's approved and updated with the new standards.
Thank you.
Mrs. White?
What's this new College Board format? Is that something onerous to go through to make it
work? I could show you in another conversation the difference between the two. Essentially, the older style when it was more just bullet points about things that were going to be covered in the various units, and this one's much more detailed. They have to actually have a summary of key assignments and key assessments that are going to be used inside of each unit of it, and it's a lot more narrative about what it's done.
The specific assignments and specific activities were part of the course
description. Yeah.
Course description. Will the English faculty themselves monitor that those things are actually being done? I mean, because one of my goals forever has been to have a comparable class. So if you take poetry from one teacher and poetry from another teacher, they should overlap quite a lot.
Push the green button there on the button.
I guess this might be a singleton, so there won't be so much, initially maybe.
Right, I think only one teacher would be teaching it at a time at our site.
So that my concern wouldn't be a problem for that particular issue.
But what we do now is we have shared folders in our Google Drive so that we put the pacing guide right in there, and then we just follow it, we just follow it and make sure we're covering everything that is in the course description.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Russo.
I just wanted to say I think it looks like a wonderful class. I love poetry, and I would be taking it if I were in high school. So thank you for bringing it back.
And then I just have a quick question on the limitations of why Renaissance Elizabethan, I had it figured out earlier, and America Era, is it a limitation because of time constraints? But why those three areas in this particular class?
You lost me already.
So let me have you restate that, because I just want you to know that this will be the first time I'm teaching it. I would like to teach it. I've taught poetry at all different levels in my 17 years in the classroom, but I updated the course description, and Mark has actually taught the course at the high school level before.
Okay.
So can you please restate the question?
One of the things is the importance of major poets of the Renaissance, Elizabethan, and early American eras. Is that the limitation in the course for the semester, or are you expanding it to other areas or eras?
Hi, Mark Cabasino. I mean, I can address that issue of the genres from when I taught the class. I don't know, it's been maybe a decade ago or so. The book that we use for the class is kind of broken up by, how do I describe it? By technique. So there's sections on learning about different forms of poetry, or learning about rhyme scheme versus free verse, that kind of thing. Who's speaking the poem? And then for the examples that they use, that the kids read, they pull from all different time periods. So they'll mix a modern and an old poem together if those things are, illustrating what they're trying to teach about speaker. So when I taught the class a while ago, it was important to me that the kids not only learned about the things the way that they were organized in the book, but also kind of got a sense of progression of poetry over a time span. So in addition to following along the way it was structured in the book, they would have classes where, for example, we would just look at Shakespearean sonnet, or we would just look at a Romantic era poet, either from British or American, and so on and so forth. When I did it, it wasn't exclusively limited to those. It was more like trying to take the way that this book was organized and also meld in so that the kids would understand the progression of poetry over time. So, they would get something older from Renaissance, but they, later in the class could get, I don't know, something from modernist, like imagist type poetry or something like that. So it was, the idea behind that was to, I guess, give them both. So if I'm understanding the question right, is it limited to those three things? Definitely it's not.
Okay. That's what I was getting at.
Yeah. So no, it doesn't. Yeah.
Great.
Those are just examples.
Thank you very much for your presentation. Any other questions from the board? Any discussion? I'll entertain a motion. Anybody in the audience want to say anything? Okay.
I move that we approve the updated course description for exploring poetry.
Second.
Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Prusso?
Aye.
President Rogie?
Aye.
Mr. Wenzel?
Aye.
Myself, aye.
It has passed 4-0 with one absent. Thank you very much.
All right, and now we'll be on to the next item, which will be an updated course description on fantasy science fiction. And so, again, I have invited a teacher here. This is Samantha Cole on the end on your right side, her left. She is a Granada High School English department teacher, and she's here tonight should you have any questions about this particular course. This course is a revised fantasy science fiction course, currently being offered, wanting to be offered at both Granada High School and Livermore High School. Again, it was previously approved, and it's come back again due to interest, as was explained before. This also is a one semester or one trimester long course that meets for English credit. It is offered to 12th grade students only. The course is designed for students who love to read this genre of literature, fantasy and science fiction. The students will conduct independent research in the subject and present their findings to the class. The students will use a wide variety of technological tools in writing the papers, developing the projects, and creating demonstrations. And you can see some of the titles that would be involved. Those are not all of them. But it spans everything from Dune 84, Fahrenheit 51, Ender's Game, and many other ones that are on the literature novel list for it, which was a previously approved list. And so that's what we're doing with this course, is to kind of bring it back. And again, also kind of updating it to reflect current standards and the College Board format, so that it does have the key assignments and really has a very strong narrative, so that anyone who reads about the course from the course description can clearly understand what's involved in that course. And so this would also be the superintendent's recommendation to approve this revised course, coming back to you on fantasy and science fiction.
Thank you. Mrs. Pruso?
Look, I think this is a great class as well. I love all the books. I've read them. I think you're going to get a lot of kids who are excited to take this. I think there's a lot of science fiction and fantasy people out there who would be excited to take this class. And I read through the curriculum, and it looks very exciting to me. Just on a side note, my best friend happens to be New York Times #1 bestseller author of young adult fantasy. And I could probably get her to do a Skype visit if anyone wants me to arrange that. Her name is Catherine Purdy, and she's written the Burning Glass series. So she would probably love to talk about world building and magic systems and all that stuff. So email me, let me know. I'd love to set that up for this class. That is all.
Thank you, Mr. Wenzel. Anything? Mrs. White? I've read most of the books on this list too, and I love them all. I was cruising through it, your short stories and then your films. Anything to do with games in fantasy?
First game.
As of like video games or board games?
Yeah, video games. Since that seems to be the biggie at this point.
We discuss video games here and there. They recently did a world building activity where they could kind of follow the structure of, I said, we do short story, you could do film, whatever. And I mention video games very frequently because that audience, those kids tend to really like video games. And we're currently working on the hero's journey, and I also gave them the option to, track a video game, because so many video games now have really in-depth storylines and everything. And so we do discuss it. I don't have any games like on the curriculum because I don't have that technology available, but we do discuss it very frequently, yeah.
Great.
Mr. Rogi,
yes,
it does seem that Ender's Game is the grand video game of it all.
Yes, yes. I liked it. I liked one of the summary assignments of the Middle Earth debate. I'd like to listen to that one sometime. Great course. I'm all for it. So, any other discussion? Any other questions? Audience, staff, any answers? Okie dokie. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. President, I move that we approve Superintendent's recommendation 9-12 updated course description, fantasy science fiction.
A second.
The motion's by Mr. Wenzel, second by Mrs. Pruso. Mrs. White, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Wenzel?
Aye.
Myself, aye. Mrs. Pruso?
Aye.
Mr. President?
Aye. And that is a 4-0 with 1 absent. Thank you very much.
Could we shake your hands also personally? Yes. But I know it's just making, but it's great work that you're doing with our students. Thank you.
Started with Robert Heinlein myself as a 14-year-old.
You guys are going to have a very rich discussion in these classes.
It's fun.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Nice to see you. right, Dr. Bowers, would you like to introduce 10.3?
Certainly, thank you. So I will ask Mrs. Melissa Thiede. She's our Director of Human Resources, and she will be presenting to the board and asking us to formally receive the Livermore Education Association contract reopeners.
Thank you, Acting President Rogie, members of the school board, and Superintendent Bowers. Item 10.3, you can see here I have merged together two titles into the title. The first being receive LEA's contract reopeners. That's item 10.3. And I'll also be presenting this evening item 10.4, which is to adopt the LVJUSD contract reopeners for a successor agreement, which would be effective July 1st, 2019. To start off with the negotiations process, the first step is to talk about the articles to be negotiated, and those are to be made public, which happened at our last board meeting on March 5th. We accepted public comment over the course of the last 2 weeks, and this evening we're at step 3, which is to request your approval of the district's articles. Once this happens, we will begin negotiations. Our teams will meet and come to an agreement because we are very collaborative, which is something we're so proud of here in Livermore. Number 6, there will be a vote by our union to ratify, and then it'll come back to you for approval following ratification. Item 10.3, the LEA reopeners. There are 6 articles here, 3 of which are automatic reopeners. The Livermore Education Association is sunshining the following articles for July 1, 2019. The first is Article 9, Workday. Article 10, Special Education. Article 13, Mentoring. Article 16, Class Size. Article 21, Wages. And Article 22, Health Benefits. The recommendation of our superintendent is to receive the 2019-20 contract reopeners from the Livermore Education Association for a successor agreement between the district and the Livermore Education Association effective July 1st, 2019. And there's no vote necessary, more of an informational piece. The next item is the LVJUSD reopeners, and this is the part that I will be requesting your support for. The Livermore School District is sunshining the following articles for the July 1, 2019 successor agreement, thereby opening negotiations for the successor agreement. The articles that the district is requesting to open is Article 16, Class Size, Article 26, Leaves, and Article 35, Technology. The recommendation of our superintendent is to adopt the 2019-20 Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District contract reopeners for a successor agreement between the district and the Livermore Education Association effective July 1st, 2019.
Excuse me, are you saying that 10.3 doesn't need to have a vote?
That is what I'm saying. The Livermore Education Association is allowed to open their articles of their choice. I need your approval for the district portion.
In the past, we've done sort of a just an acknowledgement, so and just say, we're formally accepting it. We can't actually vote against it because we don't really have a choice.
Correct.
But,
so you can do a symbolic vote to
it's called like
say
a symbolic
yes, we
or provisional
understand
vote.
and
So
accept.
if you want to formally receive or formally accept.
Or
And
formally
To formally receive.
that way, at least we can put it in the minutes.
Perfect.
So what we'd be voting for is to formally receive.
And I've gone back.
Do something
I
similar with the
apologize.
audits, because you can't really say you don't want the audit or you disagree with the audit. You just have to accept an audit.
So we're formally receiving. I apologize. I've gone back to request our superintendent's recommendation to formally receive LEA's reopeners.
Thank you. Any discussion? I will entertain a motion.
President Rogie? Oh, we need a motion.
Yes. 10.3.
10.3. 10.3. I move that we receive the Livermore Education Association proposal for the 2019-2020 contract reopeners.
A second.
Motion's by Mrs. White, seconded by Mrs. Prusso.
Aye.
I can't say that.
Mr. Wenzel.
Oh, sorry.
Hang on.
Mrs. Prusso.
Aye.
Mr. Wenzel.
Aye.
Myself, aye. President Rogie.
Aye.
Very confusing.
Don't jump the gun. We'll get there. It's been, the motion carries 4-0 with one absence.
And I'll take responsibility for throwing that vote off. I apologize. So the following, and I can repeat if you'd like, LVJUSD reopeners do require the approval of the board, and that is item 10.4.
Thank you. Any discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we adopt the Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District's initial proposal for the 2019-2020 contract reopeners.
I have a motion by Mrs. Prusso. Any second?
Second.
Mr. Wenzel seconds. Mrs. White, would you please call the roll?
Sure. Me, aye. Mr. Wenzel.
Aye.
Mrs. Prusso.
Aye.
President Rogie.
Aye. And that motion carries 4-0 with one absence.
Thank you very much.
10.5 and 10.6 were both tabled.
So for our next item, we'll ask Mr. Scott Vernoy, our Director of Student Services, to come forward. He will be presenting for your consideration and first reading approval a policy that's been revised per law changes from Series 5000.
Good evening, President Rogie, Superintendent Bowers, members of the board. Tonight, it's my pleasure to bring a policy that's near and dear to my heart, Board Policy Administrative Regulations 5144.1, suspensions and expulsions and due process, for a first reading. We had our first posting on March 7th, and tonight I bring it to you for our first reading. So this is a revision of our existing board policy and administrative regulations. BPAR 5144.1 is being revised for one reason, is a new law, AB 752, which establishes a process to prevent children from being unnecessarily expelled or unenrolled in the California state preschool programs, which we have none expulsions in those programs. But other significant changes, as well as an opportunity to reorganize and to update. The superintendent or designee shall maintain outcome data related to student suspension and expulsions in accordance to Ed Code. No student in grades K through 3 may be suspended for disruption or willful defiance. Any student in grades 4 through 12 may be suspended but not expelled for disrupting school activities or otherwise willfully defying the valid authority of supervisors. We have received a couple minor changes that we will be making, mostly grammar, and addition of a change of one number that was needed to be changed from 18 to 19 to include all of the items. And so at this time, we ask you to approve the first reading from Board Policy Administrative Regulations from Series 5000 with those changes. I'd be glad to answer any questions at this time.
Mr. Wenzel? Mrs. White, anything? Mrs. Prusso? So the majority of these changes are because of law changes?
Excuse me?
A majority of these changes are because of the law changes and some reorganization?
Yes, so the policy hadn't been updated since 2015. So the majority, well, the major changes were definitely all related to changes in laws that have been done over the last few years. But there was some reorganization of verbiage as well that we took the opportunity to do while we updated the policy.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Any further questions? I'll move that we pass Board Policy 5144.
Second.
Motion by myself, seconded by Mr. Wenzel. Mrs. White, would you please call the roll?
Sure. Yourself, Mr. President Rogie.
Aye.
Mrs. Prusso.
Aye.
Mr. Wenzel.
Aye.
Myself. Aye.
The motion passes 4-0 with one absence.
Thank you very much.
So for the next item with the consent, just a reminder, we'll be taking 11.12 separately from the consent bundle.
Yes. Are there, this is the consent calendar or the consent motions. Anybody else want to break out anything for discussion or another vote other than 11-12? With that, I'll take a motion.
President, oh, go ahead.
I move that we approve consent items 11-2 to 11-11.
Second.
Mrs. White moves that 11-2 to 11-11, and Mrs. Prusso seconds. Mrs. White, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Prusso.
Aye.
Mr. Rogie.
Aye.
Mr. Wenzel.
Aye.
Mrs. White. Aye.
Motion passes 4-0 with one absence. Now on to 11-12. Mr. Wenzel was not here at the last meeting, so.
We'll do the consent item resolutions next, if that's okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And then we go to the separate, sorry. Just in case resolutions end up separately as
Don't have
well.
that sheet.
Sorry.
Okay. So we have consent resolutions. Discussions? Any, Dr. Bowers? Anything said about it?
Possibly, if you might want to have some explanation of 12.4 because it sometimes confuses people. So we do have to acknowledge that the State Facility Program Bond Authority funds are exhausted at this point, and so from the existing funding that's available. But nevertheless, we want to make sure that the board and the public are aware of that, and we would like you to pass a resolution that says even though that is the case, we are still going to continue to apply for funding because funding can be released later. There may be future funding available, and you need to be in the queue lined up just in case. So that's just more of an it's a requirement that we ask you to be aware of that. And so there's no promise of funding, but there we've seen from the past that sometimes funding does show up years later, or this would position us for future funding as it becomes available. Is that accurate? I hope. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the board on any of the resolutions? I will take a motion, please. Okay, then.
I move that we approve resolutions 47, 48, and 49, 18, 19.
A second on that. Motion for 12.2 through 12.3 by Mrs. White and seconded by Mr. Wenzel. Mrs. White would like to call the roll.
Sure. Mrs. White.
12.4 we're going to separate.
No. Why? Not, no.
Oh, I thought you said you had.
We
you
didn't have to
wanted
separate. I just wanted to give a little explanation behind it.
Oh,
'cause
I'm
there was
sorry.
a
I thought
question
you
came
wanted
up
to
earlier.
separate it
Oh,
out.
no, that's fine.
I'm
My
sorry.
motion included it.
I'm sorry. You're right.
Oh, no.
All right. So the original motion is for 12.2 through 12.4,
Yes,
correct?
sir.
And you're also seconding that same thing? All right. I stand corrected. Sorry. Apologize. Mrs. White, would you like to call the roll?
Mr. Wenzel. Aye. Mrs. White. Aye. Mrs. Prusso.
Aye.
President Rogie.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0 with one absent. And then we're moving on to 13.0, 11.12. Got lost here. 11.12, approving the agenda minutes from the last meeting. I'll move that we approve those.
Second.
Motion by myself and seconded by Mrs. Prusso. Mrs. White, would you like to call the roll?
Mrs. White. Aye. Mr. Wenzel.
Abstain. Absent.
Mrs. Prusso.
Aye.
Mrs. President Rogie.
Just, I'll answer to anything.
President Rogie.
Aye.
I just generate you.
The motion was passed 3-0, 3-1,
Oh, 3-0.
three passed, one absence, one abstained. Got it.
Got it.
All right, moving on to board member reports. Who'd like to start? Mr. Wenzel.
Thank you. I apologize. I missed last meeting. I was not feeling up to par, but so I didn't read out what I did during those weeks prior to missing the meeting. So I went to the annual Science Odyssey like I do every year, but this year I did a little different. I went on Wednesday, which was a lot more interesting because I actually got to see the students dress up and present to the judges. And that was pretty exciting to watch the kids and how confident they were and go through the process. I learned about watering plants with soda, don't do it. Chain reaction with dominoes, spacing them further apart, it goes faster. And don't cry over cut onions. So what you need to do is put the onions in the refrigerator and it won't be so bad when you cut them. So, went to the school board breakfast presented by Service Center Council. Always a good event, collaboration. Thank you for that. Altamont Creek book reading. We went to that, and that was a lot of fun at the assembly. Donations of books were made, and I thought that the kids had a good time. And we did an inspection with Acting President Rogie. We went to a couple of the football fields of Granada and Livermore, looked around, and questions were developed and got answers for. Basically, we're kind of concerned about warranties and how the process works. So we put that out, and thank you, Tim, for answering those things. Attended a panel discussion at Granada High School for school safety and issues regarding mental health. That was very interesting, seeing the responses from the kids in the audience and then how it was run. Attended a SELPA meeting yesterday. Talked a lot about finances, looking at what we're going to be doing and approving in June regarding our finances. It was a landslide victory for Dublin, Megan Rouse, and Joan Lauren, again from Pleasanton, for being our officers for the SELPA. So I wanted to make sure that they got their recognition. Talked with Workday. We were talking a few meetings back regarding allowing students come in from the Livermore Joint Unified School District. And I got clearance, talked to some people, got some names, and it looks like that they have what's called a tour during Workforce Week. It's an annual event for students for a college internship. They do mock interviews, and there's a lunch, and there's networking. And so I was all excited, and then I sent it over to Mike, and he probably, lost it because I sent it to the wrong place. So I apologize. So we talked to Kevin Greer about that. So you have the names, phone numbers. It seems like it's really exciting. So if it works out, great. So that worked out. And lastly, we're still working on the emergency preparedness with Mr. Vinoy, and hopefully Workday will step up again and help us there. So I think that's it.
Mrs. White.
Since last time I attended the open house of Kid Connection at Lawrence Elementary, and I'm looking forward to tomorrow at Mitchell. Tomorrow was also the Livermore High Expo. It'll be a busy day. On Saturday, I'm looking forward, and grown-ups in Livermore should look forward to the Del Val Fine Arts performance at the banquet with Trio 180. The students at Altamont and Maryland should look forward to the community outreach from Del Val Fine Arts. They're providing Trio 180 to provide sessions at Altamont Creek and Maryland. And we need to thank Kevin Greer for getting the pianos tuned, because one of the players in the trio is a pianist, and it will be a better experience for the students if they have the pianos tuned. Thank you.
Mrs. Prusso.
I also got to go to the Kid Connection at Lawrence Elementary. I saw Mrs. White there, and we got to eat popcorn, and so that was really great for me. but also excited to see such a thriving group of students in a well-planned playroom. And then I was also able to visit the Rancho site and become an honorary raccoon. And I was thrilled to spend time on their campus and in their classrooms and getting to know Mr. Martin and his staff. And also excited to see all 3 of my nephews in their classrooms and out playing on the playground. And yes, they did admit that I was their aunt, believe it or not. Except one little kid asked if I was their grandma. And then he said, but you look like a young grandma, so. Monday night, I was able to attend the city council meeting with Superintendent Bowers and Philomena Rambo and watch our paraeducator students from Granada and other schools who did an excellent job of educating the mayor and the city council. The city council directed their staff to prepare an ordinance to regulate vaping, and so I congratulate all the student 2P peer educators for all their efforts and for their passion, and I think that it's a wonderful thing for our city. And as a part of my efforts on the Health and Wellness Committee, I was able to shadow the school nurse Julie Howard at Junction for a day, and it was great to see her and the administration and the staff doing their daily routines. It was pretty eye-opening for me. They do so much to help our students' physical health as well as their emotional well-being. And I got really good at handing out ice packs for all the playground foibles that were happening. And then on Saturday, I was honored to attend the Hindu Community Cultural Center's Grants and Aid. And this organization gives grants each year to many different organizations, including LVJUSD. And I know Kid Connection also got a grant from them this year, which I think is exciting as we're going and visiting all of their classrooms. And it was very heartening to hear, to know that within our community there are organizations such as the HCCC who care about kids, education, and humanitarian work. And then also I'd be remiss if I didn't mention watching the East Avenue and Mendenhall girls volleyball games today. I was there for a long time because I have a 6th grader and an 8th grader. And it was fun to watch the girls play or try to play. So that's my...
Thank you, Mrs. Pruso. My accomplishments this last couple of weeks is attending the PCIC meeting. Mr. Biondi gave a synopsis of the LCAP and had a nice lunch. Attended the ROP meeting. We discussed the budget and had some great recognitions. Also attended the Livermore High School Chorus Show and the Livermore Amador Joint Band Concert. Amador was invited over. It's kind of a mini battle of the bands. I'd like to think Livermore won. And that's all I have. Dr. Bowers.
Thank you, Mr. Ogie. So as was mentioned earlier by our LEA President, Kate Sorrell, many of us attended the March 6th meeting to plan the East Bay Coalition of Public Educators meeting for the fair and full funding. So we do need to make sure that Livermore schools are represented. Students are invited, parents invited. It's during our spring break, so it's kind of a nice time. We don't have to miss school for it and miss work. Staff, as well as our board members, invited to first meet with legislators. We have assigned meetings in the morning, and then there will be a rally on the Capitol steps at noon. We'll be joined by folks all the way through Alameda County, as well as Santa Rosa is joining us so far. So that should be a really great experience for us to make sure that we keep pressure on the legislators for the fact that we are not fully funded at an equitable basis, as was mentioned earlier. So I had the opportunity also to read to Maryland Avenue 3rd graders, which was quite fun. And it's always interesting for me to read with them because they add a lot too. They act very dramatically. I used to teach drama, so I don't just read to them, I let them make sound effects. So it changes the normal reading style for the kids, and the teachers kind of are a little wondering about why it's a little more louder than usual, but we have fun. Bless you. My husband and I attended the Pictures for People fundraiser that was held at Range Life, along with a lot of other community leaders. And that was a fundraiser to highlight and help our local homeless people. So they were portraits of people to remember that there are many people struggling in our community, and they are not just data points, they're not just statistics, they're actual human beings who have hit a hard part in their life, and they're in transition. And so it was really nice. I also had a chance to meet the homeless liaisons. There's 2 now full-time police officers from the Livermore Police Department who are homeless liaison. And they are being fully trained on different kinds of work rather than just citing and moving people, but actually to help relocate and connect them with services. Also attended the LISCO President's Reception to meet chaperones and organizers of the Japanese visiting trip. So we have our sister city, Yatsukaido, and every other year we either visit there or they visit us. And so that was a really exciting time for us to meet everybody. And a little shout out to Ryan Sanchez. If you haven't seen the East Avenue lawn, there's actually a greeting carved in, or I don't know if it's carved, is it mowed into the lawn? That is a greeting for the Japanese students. We participated in the Granada High School Student Safety Forum, and also there was the mayor, Supervisor Haggerty's chief of staff, our police chief, Trustee Chris Wenzel. We had a representation from Choose Love. We responded to student questions, and what was interesting is the difference in the tenor and anxiety of students, I guess, about safety as compared to a year ago, which was right after the Parkland tragedy. So students felt very excited and confident in the measures we've taken since then, and the fact that it is something that we're continuing to work on. And we will be hosting one also at Livermore High next week. Then, as Trustee Prusso mentioned, we attended the Grant and Aid event at Shiva Vishnu Temple. We received $1,000 from the Hindu Cultural and Community Center. And even if we didn't receive the money directly, whether it was Kid Connection or some of the other groups, they give so much money to different human resource and human service organizations that our students will indirectly benefit. On Saturday, attended 2 fundraisers, the Granada High Black and Gold Social at Campo de Bachi, and then the Sunset Gala. So it was amazing to see so many parents come out and enjoy an adult night out, but also raise funds for their schools. So we're looking forward to tomorrow night's Granada High School Expo. This Saturday is the Livermore School District Recruitment Fair that I know Ms. Seedy and her department are working really hard on. So we have many applicants for our open positions. That's exciting. We're also hosting STEAM Divas event at Junction, and this is for young ladies who are looking forward to careers in science, and that's in partnership with the lab. And there's also a new component this year, which is our parent group component. I think Trustee Prusso's enrolled in that possibly, or you're going to observe it. That's what I've been told. And Susan Johnston, one of our award-winning teachers, will be hosting that. Also, Saturday night is Rancho Casino night. This is also an adult fundraiser. We have our annual Tri-Tip fundraiser for FFA, and then, of course, the rally in Sacramento. And I'm going to leave with a little bit of an advertisement for the A's games. So remember, we have 4 different student performance groups at our A's games that will be coming up. There will be a flyer I hear out tomorrow, or definitely by Thursday morning, that Mrs. Rambo's department is working on. Saturday, May 11th, the day before Mother's Day. It's a great gift for your mom. Livermore High Show Choir will perform. Friday, June 14th, there'll be Flag Day and fireworks, and Element 116 performs. Tuesday, July 16th, free parking night, and Livermore High School Advanced Trombones perform. And against the A's will be playing the Yankees on Thursday, August 22nd, the first week back to school. Morgan Rogie, class of 2020, will perform. So hopefully you'll be able to come to at least one, if not all 4, for the home run pack. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Bowers. And with that, our meeting is over at 21:13.